Welcome to Circle City Conversations, where the heart of Indianapolis comes alive through the stories of its people. Join us as we explore our city, one insightful conversation at a time.
Hey everyone, welcome to one of the first inaugural episodes of the Circle City Conversations podcast with me, Alex Limontes, Indianapolis trial lawyer with Hurst Limontes, and I have the pleasure of being here with one of my who I consider a close friend of mine, a dear friend and a great lawyer that I've known for a long time. I'm here with Marc Lopez of Marc Lopez Law Firm. Marc is a trial lawyer who loves fighting injustice, just like I do, and many of us do. And more importantly, he wants to help people. And really, a lot of us are motivated by that. So Marc is also a CEO, an owner, a dad, a husband, a manager, and a marketer. So he wears a lot of hats. Marc founded his firm in 2009 and has since grown the firm to include 7 lawyers. Marc, thank you so much for being here.
I am so excited, man. You made it sound pretty cool on paper, man.
Well, we're trial lawyers. That's what we do, right? So, Marc, I'll just kind of start where I would normally start, is just talk to you a little bit about kind of your past and what motivated you, what made you want to go to law school and be a lawyer?
That's actually a great question. So I went to DePaul University and I graduated in 2003, and that's DePaul with the W in Indiana. And for some reason, my senior year of college, I started reading some books about Ralph Nader, and I was just really impressed with his consumer advocacy. And there was a story where cars used to have fins on them, and he's one of the single-handedly started litigation, and basically cars don't have these fins. And the reason why these kids were skateboarding on the streets or the sidewalks, they'd fall over and impale themselves with these cars had these really cool fins. And I was just so impressed with these books I was reading about Ralph Nader. And on a whim, complete whim, I started applying to law schools. I took the LSAT, of course, and it was just kind of just changed everything. And I started law school, I really want to find a way to make the world a better place. And it's very, very, as young people typically are, very ambitious and very idealistic. And I still got a little bit of that left, but a lot of that's, kind of gone to the wayside. Well, not really. But that's I just wanted to help people. And when you said that intro, man, it made me smile because I still really do feel that way. I enjoy helping people.
Yeah. And I will say I'm in the room with you right now. I'm up here at your office. You have a beautiful office up here. And the energy is palpable. You can tell that, that's really what motivates you. And frankly, a lot of the lawyer friends that I would consider, lawyers that I would consider friends, we all share the same mindset. And I think that's really awesome, because that keeps you going, right?
Oh man, you said the friends, I truly consider you a friend. I've known you, talking with you since 2008 in the courtrooms of Indianapolis. And it's just been very awesome to hear you say nice things about me, because I honestly admired so much of what you've done in the past, it's been a while, 2008. But so yeah, if you can see me, you can't see me, unfortunately. I'm smiling over here because I got the warm fuzzies going on.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Your first kind of initial foray into the legal field, like where'd you start off? What'd you do? Let's talk a little bit about it.
So my very first job was with Nathaniel Lee. At the time it was Lee, Castle, Keene, and Love, or something along those lines. And Nathaniel Lee was an amazing mentor, and he does plaintiff's personal injury. And that's exactly what I wanted to do when I started going to law school. And I absolutely loved aspects of that job. I loved talking with people. I loved chatting with people. I loved trying to help people solve people's problems. What I did not love was I had been there for 2 years as an attorney, 2 years as a clerk, and we've done exactly 2 jury trials. And I was not getting any kind of significant experience, in my opinion, with trial advocacy. And Mr. Lee did a lot of trials, and he brought me on as many as he could, but just the nature of, at least for that time, personal injury seemed like the jury trials were few and far between. And I would get cases settled, and I would bring up to Mr. Lee, because I was a young lawyer, this is his business. Hey, he had to sign off on them. He would literally pick up the phone and he'd squeeze up $10,000, $15,000 more. And I literally would just be like, how do I get to that level? He's like, oh, we just got to do some trials together. And because when you do trials, that's when they start paying. That's when they start, no, hey, you can get a surprise verdict. You can get something crazy going on. And right then and there, and I know if he ever listens to this, I'm going to give it to him when it comes out, but he's probably regret telling me that because that changed the impetus of my career. I was like, I have to learn how to do trials. And some friends I had, the prosecutor's office, public defender's office, they're doing trials all the time, it seemed like. Yeah. And so I did the Indiana Continuing Legal Education Forum's trial college, which is great in its own. It's a couple of days. It was during St. Patrick's Day. All my friends were having the time of their life in Chicago. And I was doing this 3-day, and Pat Shoulders was the lead guy. And I left there and I was like, there's no way I'm not going to do trials. They videotaped you, told you what you did wrong, told you what you did right. And the ICLEP is just an amazing program in its own right. And I just started applying public defender and prosecutors. And prosecutor called me first. I accepted the prosecutor job. And the next day I got a call public defender for an interview. And that was probably one of the hardest things I'd ever done because I thought my heart would be more with the public defender, but I had a ridiculous interview process and I just felt like I owed it to myself to just go with that. And so that started 2008, the prosecutor's office, and I did 100 bench trials in a year and only like 4 or 5 jury trials because they still are hard to come by because people typically don't want to do juries. But I was there exactly 1 year and then I was like, I can do this on my own. And I put my 2 weeks notice in and my wife was freaked out, man. And then I started my law firm in 2009, July 2nd, and it has been an absolute wild ride.
Now, go back to the prosecutor days. You and I knew each other back then, right?
Yes.
I was a public defender. You were prosecutor.
And Alex and I were in a very tough court. And Alex had just graduated from that court. But the public defenders at the time were so just intimidated. And it's Judge Becky Pierce-Tracy, and she's my friend.
She's amazing.
Great judge. And she trained so many, everyone that been through her court, if you were there for any significant period of time, you're a good trial lawyer because you had to put in your seat. And so you had just graduated from that court. I mean, you got promoted, but for whatever reason, you had to keep coming back because the PDs were getting in trouble. They just it was great PDs, but she's hard. And so you were there all the time, I felt like. And so in many ways, I felt like you were helping me get acclimated to that court, but also it was just it's an amazing experience. And like you work with somebody, you train with somebody, it's get a bond with them. And that's kind of what we had, I feel like.
Yes, absolutely. And we developed that same bond with a lot of people because we see them every day, right?
Oh, man.
Every day. Now you were doing a lot of the OVWIs, is that right?
Yeah. So when I first started in that court, it was general prosecutor. And then the last half of the year I was there, it was DUI unit. And at the time, Marion County's in Indianapolis. They had an assigned DUI prosecutor for every misdemeanor court. And they were the ones that only did DUI. So it was like a very specialized prosecution unit.
Did you take a lot of that knowledge that you gained there over into your private practice when you started that?
Oh, yeah. And so I remember I would get my work done and I would stay late at the prosecutor's office, just, reviewing resources they had access to and just kind of getting caught up on things and kind of realizing what you did not learn. And then when you're a prosecutor, you see everybody come in, but then you see the people who are charged with specific crimes, mostly DUI, that come in. And it just seemed like it was it could happen to anybody. Whereas some crimes are like, well, I don't know how to explain it, but I knew right away, the couple months of doing drunk driving prosecution, if you had to take a random criminal off the street, a drunk driver defendant is going to have the ability to hire a private attorney. And so I saw that with, at the time, Jess Paul was the number one DUI defense lawyer in Indianapolis, if not Indiana. And I talked to him a lot. And I knew that if I was not scared of trial, I knew that if I learned the science behind it, I would be absolutely fine in private practice.
So what are some of the things that you have done to learn that science behind it? Maybe some conferences, things like that you've attended? The big one was the National College of DUI Defense is a national organization. They have tons and tons of training on science background. And then the National College of DUI Defense, through a gentleman named Andrew Meeslove, they incorporate a lot of the Jerry Spence Trial Lawyer College into the National College of DUI Defense. And so the Jerry Spence Trial Lawyers College went there for 3.5 weeks in 2011, literally in Wyoming. No cell phone, no Wi-Fi. They had one landline phone and you had to buy calling cards at the gas station. And wow, it was wild, man. But at that Trial Lawyers College, when you get there, you think you're going to be doing trials right away. But the first week is just kind of,
you break it up into small groups of 15 to 20, and you kind of just talk about being vulnerable, talk about how to connect with people. And at the time, I've read a lot of research on persuasion and connecting with people for jury selection. At the time, when you expose vulnerabilities, people want to connect with you. And a lot of that is the defense trial lawyers, because the first full week is just being super vulnerable with these other people that you would never do that with. And then the second and third weeks, second week's all trial skills, and third week there is mock trial. And then that was an absolute life-changing, how to actually do trial lawyers. And I remember I came back from that, and I did so many trials. It was insane. Yeah. And I just felt pumped about it. And in my office, in my downtown office, was a picture of Jerry Spence. He's holding my head. He was 70. He was like 74, 70, maybe 78 at the time. But he was still out there. And he literally makes you promise you'll do trials. And when you make a promise to an old man like that, you can't just feel like I'm not going to do it. But that was one of the life-changing things that I've done for my career.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a little bit about that. For some of our listeners who may not know who Jerry Spence is, who is he?
Just this legendary trial lawyer. And if you Google him, you'll see just tons and tons of cases he was on. And these like in the 70s and 80s. And, he has tons of books. And I've probably read them all. But I mean, you read these books, and he had 2 weeks for jury selection. He had, days from closing arguments. And so that's not applicable to my practice. Hey, you got 20 minutes to pick a jury, but it's a murder, judge. That's all you get. And so, but the ideas and just his striving for justice, striving for just compassion, just striving to help the little guy. It's infectious. And I mean, I went to region. The trial lawyer college has regionals, so you can go there on the weekends, a couple times a year. Through the trial lawyer college, I met Betsy Green, who's just an absolute, it's like a little shining star. You can't see it, but I said her name, everyone in this room smiled, because Betsy she's this amazing human being. And I met her through them. I met so many just great trial lawyers, and just absolutely amazing program.
When you were there, was it a good mix of criminal defense lawyers and personal injury lawyers, or was there more leaning one way or the other?
When I was there, it seemed like 3/4 are injury lawyers.
Okay.
And then it's even more funny because most of the criminal lawyers who were there with me at the time, they'd even gone into injury. And I don't know what it is about. Maybe you surround yourself with like-minded people.
Yeah.
You start kind of going that way. But other thoughts on that too. But
right.
So it was overwhelmingly injury, but almost everything you do applies to criminal defense. And then they always went out of their way to make sure, hey, for this training, who here's criminal defense training? Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to do it that way for a little bit too.
So let's talk a little bit about trial, because, I'm a trial lawyer. You're a trial lawyer. I love trying cases. If you could pick your favorite part of trial, what would that be and why?
It's voir dire. Yeah. I'm convinced that voir dire is where you figure out the jury likes you, you like the jury. It's the only time you get to actually chat with them in any kind of meaningful way. And then, especially for people that have trained in Indianapolis, Marion County, you're doing a jury, you get 20 minutes. So you make every word count. You are out there on your feet. I've never finished a jury trial without some sweat on my forehead. I have an Apple Watch, and I'll mark down what time I start the jury selection, and I'll mark down the time I get done. And not because I'm nervous, but I'm running. What do you think, sir? You just heard that. Give me your thoughts. Oh man, I got 5 minutes left. Can you give me something? Give me something. And it's just my favorite part of jury selection. And then when you finish that jury and you've picked a good jury, you just feel in your heart, man. You're like, everyone's smiling. And then when the prosecutor does a bad job picking a jury, it's just an amazing feeling, because it's going to be impossible. In my opinion, you can't overcome a bad jury. Now, you can still do things during a trial to make the jury not like you. But, man, if you get that jury selection right, that is going to just make everything so much easier.
Yeah. And I mean, and you've seen this too. Same applies to personal injury cases, right? When you get a good jury, you know it. Small story or short story. When I was a public defender, I was trying a case with Manish. Okay. Manish Patel, criminal defense attorney, local criminal defense attorney friend of mine, and a neighbor. We were both at the public defender agency, and we were trying a case against Brad Keffer, who was a law school classmate of mine and now one of our referral partners. And we got done picking the jury, and then we're at, I think it was called Enzo's Pizza in the market, in the cafeteria line there with the trays. And Brad walks up to me and he makes a plea deal that the client had wanted all along. So to your point, you pick the right jury, you know it. And like you said, the prosecutor knows it, right?
It's amazing. I got the chance to sit second chair for jury trial. Jameson Allen did, my injury partner, in August of 2021 when not too many civil juries going on that time. This is Hamilton County, and same deal. We brought a body language expert with us, and I could just tell right away we had that jury, and it was just amazing. And you have that feeling. You can't replicate that. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just.
And I remember talking to you guys a little bit about that jury trial. That was right in the middle of COVID, wasn't it?
It was.
And your guys' kind of mindset was you kind of met that whole issue head on. Is that right?
Yeah, you couldn't avoid it. The judge made us wear masks unless you were at the podium. Then you could take your mask off. But then we actually saw a lot of the jurors when they were getting up. They were purposely keeping their distance. And I remember I saw one person get a little close to somebody else, and it was a big so I was like, man, so Jameson actually asked them for permission to take his mask off during the podium. I could swear I saw some people doing some mental math. And this was wild because we did this jury in Hamilton County, which is a conservative county in Indiana, and they have an historic courthouse that's very big. They made us do the jury selection in the historic courthouse, and I had never been in that room before. I've been in Hamilton County hundreds of times doing jury trials, and I've like, where are we? What is going on here?
Yeah.
So, and it was super spread out. It was so spread out. You almost had to shout people in the end, and they're wearing masks too. And so that made us, hey, we need something. We need to do something up our sleeve here. We got the body language expert, and couldn't see people's faces.
Right.
And now I don't think we would even consider going to jury trial without a body language expert. Just the feedback she was giving was just absolutely amazing. And
I've talked, I can't recall her name, but I've spoken with her before.
Lisa Mitchell, and she's awesome. And
was that like a tactical decision on your guys' end because you knew that people's faces were going to be covered, right? So you can't read facial expressions. So what's your next best bet, right?
You're 100% right. So I met Lisa, and she'd done some training on body language with my law firm prior to COVID. We used to get her at the office once a week on a Friday, and we just have lunch, and we just practice with the lawyers and even the staff. And so when COVID was going on and knew we had a jury trial, you're exactly right. I was like, I want to see maps. I can't just look at people's eyes and know. But I talked to her, and she was all about it. And she said, I mean, anyone listening to this, other law firms have used it to great success. She's amazing. I don't want to say that we're the first ones to use her. We were the first ones to use it. But she's absolutely amazing. Lisa Mitchell, I think the company's Body Power Language, but anyone reach out to me and I'll get you your information.
Yeah. Like I said, I've spoken with her before over the phone a number of times. She really is very knowledgeable when it comes to that. So I'm going to test your knowledge a little.
Oh man, I'm excited.
All right. As your OVWI knowledge, not really knowledge, but more than anything, just what would you say are some common misconceptions that people have specifically about OVWIs in Indiana?
So the biggest misconception is if you're under 0.08, you're in the clear. And that is something, I mean, we did a jury trial in Boone County, 0.079. And so in Indiana, if you're 0.08, you're presumed to be drunk. And yeah, you can rebut that. If you're 0.05, 0.06, 0.07, it's called relevant evidence of intoxication. There's a statute they get to read up there. The jury gets to say, hey, relevant evidence of intoxication. It's, in reality, if you hit that 0.05, you're going to get charged. And sometimes we talk to people on the phone, we have to be careful because it's a good case. I'm not going to say it's not a good case, 0.05, 0.06, 0.07, but sometimes people hear me, oh man, this is a good case. But they really hear, oh, this is an easy case. Why am I I'll get the next cheapest lawyer possible. The reality is those cases are hard because the prosecutor, if the officer arrested you 0.05, 0.06, 0.07, the officer's telling the prosecutor, no, I want this guy prosecuted. Now, prosecutors are supposed to be independent of officers, but you and I both know officers have a big hand in this stuff. And that's the biggest one. The second biggest one is people just either don't believe or they just don't want to believe that your license is going to be almost immediately affected. Well, I'm not going to have to work. What do you mean? That's ridiculous. I know a guy got a DUI driving the whole time. He was driving illegally. So that's the second biggest one. The third biggest one, there are certain counties in Indiana where you get a DUI, you got to go to jail unless you get convicted. And even first time, even if there's no accident, there are just a few counties. They're farther and farther between. And, sometimes you can find an issue whether blood or breath, and make a big enough deal, you get a better deal. But some judges just want that. And so those are the top three things I find myself talking to people about all the time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I want to talk to you a little bit more. You mentioned before that there's a lot of science involved. And one of the misconceptions being that if you're under a 0.08, you just automatically get off. All right. As far as the science that's involved, and then people's kind of understanding of that, you even mentioned maybe someone thinking that it's an easy case, they go to the cheap lawyer.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you would be much different than, let's say, I had a lawyer once say to another lawyer that they were a Kroger Plus Card lawyer. And I was like, okay, the manager's special. Yeah. So, fair to say that's kind of where the biggest difference is between that, $700 DUI lawyer and the lawyer that's going to, charge you more because you get.
Yeah. So you're exactly right. If somebody gets stopped for speeding, tail light out, weaving within their lane, and, it's 8:00 p.m. and it takes about a half hour for the blood or breath to get out of that person. So it's 8:30 and they're 0.079. There is a process called retrograde extrapolation, and they get their toxicologist to come in and say, hey, listen, at 8:00, the blood or breath came out at 8:30, and it's 0.079, but at 8:00, they actually went in 0.085 or 0.83. And it's actually, it's not a bad argument for science, but the reality is the people that developed the retrograde extrapolation specifically said you shouldn't use it for forensic determination. You shouldn't use it for any legal liability because it's not in any way, shape, or form designed for that. And so the science of DUI stuff, and it's ironic that I took non-science classes. I dropped out of honors biology, chemistry in high school, and I had taken and I got A's. And it wasn't because I was smart, because it was easy. And then I went to liberal arts college and take any science classes. And then I'm in this DUI field where the science is everywhere. And I've had to pay twice as much. I've had to go different places to learn all this science because I did not pay enough attention in high school or college. And I take a lot of pride in the science stuff I've learned. I often wonder all that time and energy and money I spent on science of DUI could have been better spent elsewhere. But I really do pride myself in the science of the DUI. And sometimes with drunk driving or even criminal defense, it's hard to find a villain. And at defense trial college, they teach you have to find a villain because you have to get that jury on your side. Sometimes you can make the science the villain. And I feel like a lot of people don't like science. They get bored with science. So a lot of people are, oh man, science the villain? I can get behind that. Yeah. So it's really served me well, and it served this practice well.
Yeah, you guys heard it here first, all right? That's how you get out of being a Kroger Plus Card lawyer. Make the science the villain. So, all right. So we talked a little bit about, your initial career with Mr. Lee, and then at the prosecutor's office, and then comes 2009, you decide to go off on your own?
That is correct. And my wife at the time told me, I'm going back to school for my doctorate. You're going to be in charge of all these bills. And I laugh at it now, but that's kind of true. And so I just knew that I would be able to do this. And it was definitely scary. And enough of my own. And I rented an office space from Mr. Lee on the second floor. He cut me a very, very low rent, and that it brings up the next year or something like that. But it was, no one tells you when you start your own practice, you truly are by yourself. It's lonely. From the prosecutor's office, Mr. Lee's always people to talk with, people to hang out with, and all of a sudden, so people always be like, man, you love getting to court early. Yeah, because I want to talk to somebody.
Right, right. And yeah, a lot of people are feeling that now after COVID. I was at a bar association event the other day and talking to a lawyer. He said this is the first time I've had any human adult interaction in a couple of weeks. Especially since we've gone a lot of virtual ways. Since COVID. So 2009, you were by yourself, right?
Literally, man. By myself in a room.
Yeah. It sounds like Mr. Lee was supportive.
No, he absolutely was. And I'm almost positive if things had gone terribly south, I could have got a job for him again.
Right.
But he was very supportive.
Did you just wanted to focus on the criminal work?
I wanted to do injury stuff, and I thought that the criminal would be a way to get cash flow coming. Because working for Mr. Lee, I would see what I would say with extremely large amounts of money required for a successful personal injury practice. Nothing is free. Not workers cost money. Any service, you say law, they automatically add 25, 50%.
Yep.
And I just saw it. Yeah, and it's true. And then one of the things Mr. Lee taught all those lawyers were, you don't ever want to be in a situation where you need money so badly, you jeopardize a client's case. And like he just taught me so many amazing things. And so I just thought that criminal defense, if I can get money in the door, that helped fund injury cases. And that I did that for a little bit, and then the criminal stuff just took off.
Yeah.
And you've done criminal defense, Alex. They're not worlds apart, but they're not complementary in many ways. I mean, the skill set for an injury attorney, sitting down, going through records, trying to understand mechanics, trying to negotiate, it's just different than negotiating with the prosecutor.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've always had a few injury cases, but I just recognized that I was going to be, I had to kind of choose one or the other.
Right.
I chose criminal defense in the early years.
Yeah. And I mean, I know a lot of lawyers believe in the niche practice, and really, I agree with it, believe in it too. I mean, we don't do anything but personal injury work in my office, and you have a partner that's all he does,
Nonstop, yeah.
And it really does make you a better version of yourself as a lawyer, and then for your clients, So you're by yourself. Who's the first lawyer? Well, no, strike that. Who is the first person that you hired?
I hired a paralegal just because I would be at the court and I would get back to my office and I have messages and I'd call back potential clients, and they'd already hired somebody. And I would always be polite. Oh, I get it. Like, who'd you end up hiring? And they would say some name, and I'll respect for all the lawyers in the community, but I knew I was a better attorney. And so I knew right away I needed somebody in the office to help out with phones. If I could just delay that person from hiring. And so I got a paralegal, and my first paralegal, she was a summertime help. I don't know what happened. She went back in the fall, and I hired another full-time person. I still remember her. She worked with me for like 2 months and then just didn't show up.
Oh,
didn't respond to text messages. Oh, man. And then I was like, man, something must be wrong. I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, something must be wrong with me. Like, I can't believe someone was just like, I'm not going to go to work anymore. That guy's so terrible. I'm not going to work with him. I'm not even going to say bye.
Yeah.
My wife looks at me. She loves me. I know she loves me. She looks at me. Well, you are difficult.
Oh, man. She knows you well, right?
Oh, man. It stung, man. It stung. And when I went to trial lawyers college for July of 2011, this is right when the second paralegal ghosted me. My wife was like, I'll go to the office. I'll answer calls. And I knew no one was going to wait 3 weeks to hire a criminal defense attorney. But I didn't want a bunch of mean messages or clients like, what the heck were you? So I had her in the office. I was renting his office to another attorney. And he was like, I'll cover anything. Absolutely goes crazy. And I got back from Wyoming. She's like, I'm done with that. I'm never going to come into the office again.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's
smart woman.
She is smart.
She's a smart woman. Imagine if we had like VAs, the virtual assistants back then, or Ruby reception or anything like that, Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's just at the time I need to recognize a need for that. And then when it comes available, you're like, oh my God, this would have been great 10 years ago. Or
I listened to a podcast from someone named Ken Hardison, who's a lawyer out in Virginia, I believe, and he runs this workshop, this PELMA seminar, and he talks about the biggest hole in a law firm is their intake process. Lead generation process is usually what he sees. And so, as far as when you started to feel some of those initial pains, some of these intakes falling through the cracks, anything special that you did to try to shore that up,
Just hire people to answer the phone. For the longest time, anybody that worked for me had to answer the phone. Well, I'm a paralegal. Awesome. Be paralegal answering phones.
Yeah.
Well, and that's not what you hired me for. I like talking about that's how we make money. I'm like that. You're actually right there. I mean, and sometimes I think it's easy for people that aren't paying the bills to, I'll call them back when I get a chance. What are you talking about? You're a psychopath. Get the call now. You got 5 minutes, man. You got 5 minutes before they're calling somebody else. And I'm still neurotic about that. I still get a notification. When we start this podcast, my phone will watch off because there's a special sequence, and if it's a missed call, it still vibrates the hell out of my arm. I'm not supposed to cuss. Apologize, but it vibrates my arm, and I literally lose my mind because we have so many people working for me, and they just not answer the phone. It's just I think it's crazy. And the missed call goes to an answering service, so the call was answered, but someone should have been answering it here.
Yeah.
So intake is huge. And the follow-up is huge. I mean, all that stuff.
Yeah, I was reading a book the other day that they mentioned 15 touch points is what you should follow up with each new intake, at least 15 times before you say, okay, I guess that person doesn't want my help, or they've already gone on to someone else. So.
And, I probably read a lot of the same things. And we have follow-up sequences, all that stuff. And I'll sometimes be amazed when we've stopped. Someone will call up the next week. Oh yeah, well, I just got to get some money together. Oh yeah, I noticed you kind of stopped talking, but it's crazy. But some people need that. And then it's also, some people talk to them for 5 minutes. Hey, we're done talking. Here's my money. And that's the coolest thing about the internet too, which, sometimes, a lot of times, by the time they'll talk to me, they watch my YouTube videos, they watch the website, they've heard me speak on various social media things like, we know you know your stuff. I want you as my attorney. So I'm just calling to get you hired. And that is the most amazing feeling, because the YouTube stuff I feel like is working in the background. It's like the best employee. They don't complain. They don't call it sick. I love my employees, but the YouTube is it's phenomenal, man. And I know my style isn't for everybody, but they're going to figure out who I am pretty soon. So people that call me after watching that, oh, we like this guy. Yeah. Maybe I wouldn't invite him for dinner, but I want him to help my case. And so that's the biggest thing too since 2009. The people just know me when they call sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and I was actually going to, mention that, Mark, you've been a leader in YouTube and online video for many, many years before a lot of lawyers were doing it. The thing about lawyers, and this, you've done enough video, is that many of us don't really like to be on video. Went to law school to be lawyers, right? So tell me a little bit about that experience, especially when you first started shooting it on your old iPhone or whatever it was.
Right before COVID, I went to something called Social Media Marketing World in San Diego. And these guys were just like, the video and stuff is going to be passing soon. You have to be on board. And I was like, man, lawyers aren't really doing this. There are a lot of lawyers that were doing this, but yeah, it was exactly right. A lot of lawyers, if you walk up to the average lawyer and say, hey, I need you to film a video for marketing purposes. I got other things to do. I got clients to call back. I have things to do. And I get it. I was there too. I don't know how I could have just filmed videos every day in 2009, 2010, 2000. Up until 2005, 18, until I had multiple people working with me. But these guys in the social media marketing world, they're just you have to do this. And one of the big things was, don't be, just start. What if, no, just start. What if the sound? No, just start. What if the quality? Just start.
Yep.
And I started doing some videos, and it sucks, man, because you'll do 10 videos and you'll put your heart and soul into all 10, and then 8 go nowhere.
Yeah.
And then 1 will have just some sort of traction, and the one you didn't even think about is just blown. And you're like, there's no rhyme or reason for this, but you have to keep doing it. And when COVID happened, when COVID shutdown came, police were stopping people and they were telling them to go home. I'm not going to arrest you. And no one knew what was going on. I don't fault anybody for this. So we had multiple people calling me in March and April. I got stopped. I don't know what happened. I went home. They didn't arrest me. They told me to get home. And so I was like, I had nothing to do. And so I started just calling local attorneys that I knew. And you can find these videos on the Marc Lopez Law.tv, and they're terrible. They're all the ones in 2020. But I was just doing Zoom, just interviewing other attorneys. And that just absolutely people, I don't know how to explain it. I think a lot of attorneys that were hesitant to be on video, we were so starved for interaction in 2020. We just, okay, fine. So we started doing these videos with these interviewing attorneys, and it was really neat just because there are people, don't do family law, don't do business transaction, but their clients would be commenting online. And then it was just a really cool thing and
smart.
It just kind of was, it wasn't even my idea. I think Andy Stickler, Bill Hauser, they were those 2 guys that kind of came up during COVID. They were like, hey, you got nothing to do interviews. And I was like, nothing to do. And so,
from SMB team,
guys. And anybody watches Bill's stuff online, he's a real positive person. So it's hard not to get excited about him.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that was all I was doing during COVID. And things picked back up slowly but surely. But,
well, I was just going to say, how often do you think you're shooting videos now? We're here, we're basically in your studio conference room, and I see the green screen and I call them umbrella lights. I don't know if that's the right term, but everything's set up there. How often are you doing that?
Me personally, so this is the screen that we use for longer videos. This is probably getting about at least once a week. We got either myself or other attorneys in here filming videos. I have a mini setup in my office just because everything, just the goal is to try to make it as easy as possible. And so even if I had to walk down the hall, which is not hard, it would make one more barrier between me and the video. And so I just truly believe in making things as easy as possible. So in my office, I just raise my desk, flip over I have mini lights like that, and I just do quick videos. If I'm not doing at least 4 or 5 videos, and not all like 5 minutes long, some of these just 1 minute, every week I'm trying to get stuff out there.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that, you have to do probably about 10 videos before someone's interested in something else. And it breaks your heart when you see something 55,000 views and the next video has 100. But, you have to put yourself out there. I'm in a blessed spot in my practice. I just spend a lot of time doing that.
Yeah. Your video you did, what was that? Crate challenge? Was that one of your better? What was that, the highest watched one, or was there another?
Man, that was the highest watched one at the time because it was just hilarious.
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know about this crate challenge, people just stacking milk crates and walking up. Police officers were falling and losing their gun. That look in people's faces was just insane. So that was a huge one. There was what was the sweet twisted tea one?
Yeah. You did love that.
Oh my God. And then I'll give it to Zach Bailey, one of my partners. We did that video and he comes back in because he joined with me. He comes back and he hands me a twisted tea. We're going to drink these while we're doing it. And I was like, man, we are attorneys. We probably need to, this is too funny though. We have to do this. So him and I are drinking these twisted teas. It's terrible. Unless they're a sponsor, they're great.
Yeah. No, they're not. No alcohol spots. But that goes to your point, Mark. You said it, like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and it's not you up there arguing or talking about suppression case law or anything like that. You guys were having fun, but look at the amount of views that you got.
It's wild, man. And you're exactly right. Put yourself out there. I've been called all sorts of names.
Yeah.
And the funny part was it bugged me so much. Now it's like, you would think that. And so it doesn't bother me anymore. And I think, I don't know. I don't even know what I would do if I had this level of confidence even 20 years ago. That's
right.
I wouldn't be just obnoxious, I think. But just put yourself out there. People that you connect with, they connect with you. And the people that don't like you, some of them will tell you they don't like you and then to move on, man.
Right. So I asked you before who was the first person you hired. What about attorney?
So the first attorney I hired, I had a co-counsel arrangement with a public defender who worked with me for about a year, and she's like, I'm out of here. And I still friends with her to this day, but it's just a very different situation. But the first attorney that I hired that's still here today is Naun Anthony Benitez.
Oh my!
And I met him when he was in law school, and I did a jury trial, and he got to watch that, and he was like, man, that was pretty cool. That's stuff I want to be doing. And I was like, cool, man. Make sure you keep in contact with me. And then I don't hear from him for a little bit. And I put a position open, all sorts of places. And then he applied, and I remembered him. And he was working in Texas at the time. And he rode a bus from Texas to Indiana to interview with me. I was like, man, I love to work for me, but I don't know if you should move from Texas. His wife and family are up here still from law school. And I just saw something in him. I knew he was gonna work hard. I love the fact he had a family, wife and kids, plural. And I just saw something in him. I'm like, wait, we can make this work. And he started, and Alex, you maybe remember this, man, 2014, that January, I'd never seen the courthouse close. I'd never seen the courthouse have it delayed. And it was a week of just straight delays.
Yep.
It iced and it snowed on top of that. And then it couldn't just melt fast enough. And so when he just came here from Texas, and it's just like, I couldn't help but laugh. I was like, what the hell? You brought all this glitter ice, and he didn't have a right jacket. I was laughing at it. We took care of all that, but it was insane when he came up here, and he's been with me ever since, and he is absolutely killing it. Killing it.
Yeah, we're going to be able to talk to him later on today. He practices primarily criminal defense. And he does handle our Spanish-speaking injury stuff. And he's one of those type of guys you talk to, and people, again, either you love him or you don't like him, but like the people that love him far outnumber the people that don't. So he's just absolutely just amazing at connecting with people immediately. And he has some funny stories too. Yeah. We'll have a lot to talk. He's a fellow Cowboys fan. Unfortunately for me, I was forced into being a Cowboys fan, and now I'm just still stuck there. So, but I do love the Colts unless they're playing the Cowboys
every week. America's team. Just
oh gosh. Yeah. Well, Benitez is probably one of those Cowboys fans. But yeah. I'm a silently angry Cowboys fan.
I like that.
So, because they always end up watching him choke somehow. So, all right. So you hired him and you got 7 lawyers now. So tell me a little bit more about your law firm growth, like since then.
So, when Mr. Baker started, I was at a situation where I needed someone to help me, just like I needed to free my time up. And he was really good at getting business too. And so it's fantastic. Getting business is always good, but like I wasn't freeing my time up in the way I wanted to. So I ended up putting another ad out and hiring attorney Matthew Crows. And Matt's still with me to this day too. And Matt is just very different personality in some ways than me, because also probably a little too similar in lots of ways too. But just absolute team player. And again, clients connected with him very well. And I specifically made it so that his job was to free my time up. So he started going to court more and more for me. And then something magical happened. When I wasn't in court every session, every day, I could actually have time to market and provide better customer service as opposed to 15 minutes before court. The business started growing, and it was really, really neat time. And so I ended up hiring, ultimately I ended up hiring Zach Bailey, and now we have more Zachs, Zach Richard, Victor Gervitz, and it's awesome. I actually love it.
And to everyone listening, I mean, I know a lot of lawyers. Mark knows a lot of lawyers. We've seen people, grow their businesses. And at the end of the day, there's really one common denominator, in my opinion, and that is the client focus. You focus on the service, like you said. You had time freed up for customer service to talk to the clients, and everything will grow from that, because people can tell. So, any solos listening, I mean, that's probably the best piece of advice I can give.
I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, was just called Marketing School with Neil Patel. It's like 7 minutes long every day. And this is like 2016. They said, you need to do an NPS. Whatever business you're in, do an NPS score. Just ask your clients if they'd recommend you, ask for some feedback. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And I did it. And the feedback I got, some of it was positive, but a lot of it was like, and this is where we're doing lots of trials. Still do a lot of trials, but like just solo or 2 people, a lot of trials. But the feedback we got was, yeah, you beat my case, but you never called me back when I needed it. You called me back the day before court. You didn't respond to my email fast enough. I've had some anxiety, and you calling me could have made my life better. So no, I will not write you a review. I appreciate what you've done for me. Thank you. But I won't be recommending you, and I won't write a review. And I remember I sent that to probably like 150 former clients. And that stuff was just jaw-dropping, because all of it was, not all of it, some of it was, yeah, you're awesome. But most of it was just they wanted more attention. Yeah. They wanted more hand-holding. And that's something that, for me personally, if I hire an expert, I cross it off my list. I don't think about it until I need it. That's my personality, though. And that's not how the overwhelming majority of people are. And I took that feedback, and I sat there for a little bit, and I thought there's 2 ways I can deal with this. I can get mad at people for having feelings, which it's easy to do that. Oh, they don't know what I'm talking about. This is, or you can change it. And a guy named Grant Cardone, he's amazing. And he has amazing books. I don't know what he's up to lately, but he has amazing books. And one of the things is, if you want to change, you have to do it. The only thing you can control is yourself. And so I'm going to hire more people and answer the phones, call back missed calls. And, I'm not going to lie to anyone listening to this. I did not talk to every single person that called me every single day, because I would be at the office till 9 o'clock at night. But we set up phone conference links, have people reach out. Hey, what's going on? How do you want? What questions do you have? I'll talk to Mark right now. And so we made systemized things where to make it more client focused. And then literally that and hiring some more attorneys from my time, that just exponentially grew things. And that was scary, though, asking people for feedback. And you knew it may not be positive. And and so I'm not the type of person that goes out of their comfort zone for just no reason at all. But that was very challenging.
Yeah. And some of the legal podcasts that I've listened to, every lawyer that goes on there and talks about sending out client surveys or trying to get feedback from their clients, no one wants to hear the bad things that you've done, but every one of them have made significant changes to their practice because. And so, to any other practitioners out there, listening, don't be afraid to hear about the things that you could do to change your practice to make it better, because eventually, it's going to help.
And we send out NPS to this day. And we got, before you got here, I'm not bragging, I told you we got a bunch of terrible ones back in the day. We had 3 today, all 10 out of 10. Recommend you. You guys did amazing. Thank you so much. 1 out of those 3 wrote a review right before we got in here. Yeah. And it's one of the most heartfelt reviews I've ever read. And he uses, you can kind of use fake name a little bit. You can kind of use his real name with his real picture. That's getting more and more rare. And my heart was smiling when you got in this. And I couldn't believe how just heartfelt this was.
Yeah.
And so NPS scores are awesome. And then you still get every now and then get something on there, but it's never because we don't call back. It's never because we're not attentive. It might be that I didn't get the outcome I wanted.
Right. Yeah.
Can't control everything. But it's scary at first, man. But you're absolutely right, man. Growth is painful, man.
It is. I want to ask you about the craziest case you've ever worked on.
Craziest case ever worked on was August 2020. A security guard owned a company, was providing security in a rough area in Indianapolis. I love Indianapolis, but it's a rough town, and every police officer I talk to, I kid you not, these are state's witnesses. Is this a rough area? Sure is, Mr. Lopez. Would you ever go there? No, without backup. I mean, this is the state's witnesses saying this. And this guy's providing private security, and this is the second day his business is providing private security, because the first day, people that were paying him say, man, he's not secure enough. So he's like, I'm going to go out there second day, and I'm going to make sure my guy is doing what he's supposed to be doing. And even though it's kind of a little bit of a rough area, rough street, dead end street, people would be outside just talking, having fun, which is fine. So my guy would be out there, and he had a body camera, and he'd just be like, hey, 11 o'clock, you guys can be on that side of the street, but this is private property. And everyone was actually fine. And then all of a sudden, a lady comes flying in in a vehicle, and she has someone in the back seat. The passenger seat's empty. So they're raising my guy's flags. Like, why is the passenger seat empty? She finds her boyfriend, whatnot, and she starts basically screaming at him, pulls a gun out.
Wow.
She says, and with multiple witnesses, not just my client, multiple witnesses say, she said, I just emptied a clip in my cousin. I will kill everybody here. She flashes this gun. She gets in the car, gun's pointing at my client. He shoots her 3 times. She dies. The body cam of the officers, he is totally calm. She pointed a gun at them, pointed a gun at me. I neutralized the situation. And the officers were like, man, you did what you have to do. That's crazy. I can't bet. Rough area. The prosecutor waited like 5 days to charge this guy. And this guy calls me at 7 o'clock in the morning. And as we've already established, missed calls come to me. No one's answered the phone at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I was irritated because people that call 7 o'clock in the morning typically, not what do you call it, best clients. This guy was like, yeah, I just got charged with murder. And I was like, he's like, I was defending myself. And I remember reading this in the newspaper. And I was like, okay, I'm 10 minutes from the office. Let me call you right back. So I found the article, and they charged him with murder 5 days after the fact. And he had seen the self-defense video I put on Facebook. That is one of the highest, and the version of it on YouTube is one of the highest seen on YouTube of all my videos, which is still like, you look at like the videos my kid watches, Ryan's were 40,000, and still nothing compared to those. But he saw that video, and he's like, I just feel like, it's like, what are the odds that I see this video and I get charged with this crime? And so there's a warrant out for his arrest. I talked to the prosecutor. I won't name his name, but everybody you say his name, he would immediately be like, that's the best prosecutor has. There's a warrant out for his arrest. I negotiated, turned him in by 6 o'clock. He's like, we know he told people that he hired you, so officers are basically at your building. But as long as you promise, turn him in by 6, you can, we'll leave you alone. And the reason he did that is because he knew I was not going to be able to be in a room with him in a normal capacity. Yeah. I was very high profile. They had to hold him in Boone County because he wasn't safe. So for 4 hours, myself, Matt Crows, Zach Bailey, and Mr. Benitez were in my old conference room. And we spent at least 4 hours videotaping, reenacting the scene, all the things I learned as best traveler at college, going through all the emotions, going through all the reenactments, moving furniture around, everything. And by 5:55, I probably could have tried that case. Wow. Because I knew what was happening. Obviously things, but turning him in, saddest thing in my life, man. I was with him right till this kid was with him. It was insane. And then, so it's during COVID. There's no fast and speedy. There's fast and speedy, but you can't make him do a trial. In jail for 8 months. And during this 8 months, I found out the lady that he shot who was pointing the gun around, the police officer stopped her, took her gun from her, and said she's crazy. Now I have to have a gun. It's called red flag. The red flag, there's this very gun that my client shot her, she was holding. She kept going to court, and they eventually dismissed the case, and she got the gun back. It was just insane. And she clearly had mental health issues. Wow. But they made us go to jury trial, and the best deal was 20 years. Jesus. I was like, what do you, well, we'll give him a plea to, we'll give him to can't even think of the name of it right now. I'm so flustered. Still emotional about this case. Basically, sudden heat murder, which is a level 2, which is better than murder, but I mean, not by much. Still, 30, 40-year-old African-American man, 20 years in jail is not going to be good. And Judge Carlisle is now prosecutor in Johnson County. Remember, she looked at my client. What's the final offer? 20 years. Looks at my client. 20 years for murder. And I kind of looked at her. With all due respect, ma'am, pass. Did a bail review. Court of Appeals came back saying, man, pretty close. Still murder. This is really close, though. Really, really. And that was just, and so at this whole time, the state of Indiana, this is murder, no bail, no bail. I made a big deal about that. The bond review made a big deal of that during trial. And then the state of Indiana stood up after all the evidence. We want an instruction for sudden heat murder. And you're supposed to get it. You're supposed to get it if you ask for it. Judge Carlisle, now prosecutor, looks at the state. You said this murder the whole time. Couldn't get him out on bond. You said no murder. I saw the video. He looked pretty calm and collected. Nope, no sudden heat. And even though I got gray hairs from that trial, I knew I wanted that point because I just could not imagine the jury saying, this is murder for self-defense. Now, if that had sudden heat, I could see some jurors being like, well, wait a second, and someone did die. But the prosecutor literally looked at her and is like, Judge, I think you're wrong, but it's your prerogative. And so I respect that. And that was one of the craziest trials I've ever done. Prosecutor was absolutely amazing. Now a judge in Marion County. And at the end, we walked up to the Judge Carlisle, Judge Carlisle was a tough judge. Yeah. She literally said that it was like a Hallmark movie. And at that point, I was like, I'm not doing murders anymore. I had no gray hair. I got these gray hairs walking through the courthouse. That was insane. Oh my God. And so the police community was very supportive of this gentleman. And at the end, he had to go back to Boone County to get processed out. And so Judge Carlisle was, hey, you're not guilty, but I just can't let you walk out. You have to get processed. And it may not be till tomorrow because it was like 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. It may not be till tomorrow to pick you up. The deputy stood up. Judge, I'll take him tonight. I got it. He'll be out tonight. And wow, it was amazing. Because the officers literally said I would not patrol that area. Now, that guy was not a police officer, but I don't know. That was crazy. He was security. He was security. He had a company, licensed, bonded. It was just not. I talked to him yesterday because I knew might talk about this might come up, and he's the testament. His business he was in jail for 8 months. Business was zero. He lost everything. He came back out, built it all back up, makes more money doing that now. Yeah. And he's one of those people that's no matter what happens to him in his life, he's going to be fine. He's like, hey, everything happens for a reason. He's like, talk about it, whatever. So yeah, that's a crazy case of work done.
So would you say that's probably one of your proudest professional moments? Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Proud for him, but I just thank God that I don't never have to be in a situation like that. And his back was against a metal barrier because of the ditch. So with turning around or security guard, you can't just run. It's just security guard. Yeah. And all about that. And then afterwards, after that trial, I got death threats, which is hilarious. Because what? And then I got a ticket. I got a freaking ticket, and they put my home address online. And in the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, I emailed them, and I was like, hey man, you got to get this address off and within 2 minutes of the email, they took care of it. And I get the prosecutor's office, and people are always like, you got to meet the prosecutors. You got to fight all the time. You got to fight for your clients. You don't got to be mean because you need little favors like that. Yeah. So I still have this video. This is the iPhone, 2 iPhones ago, but I still have this video. But the community, there's a lot of commentary online, and a lot of people were mad at me and mad at the law firm. But a couple people that were like, I had this video. I might try to find it for you. I don't have it in this phone. But a guy was like, yeah, he's guilty. He should be in jail the rest of his life. But man, he got the legal dream team. They got the Johnny Cochran motherfucker. I'll have Alzheimer's or dementia, and I'll still be thinking about that video because it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I still talk to that guy. And then you said the proudest moment, the victory, but the proudest moment was that jury trial was in April. And he sent me a picture of his family at the beach in June. Oh, yeah. And he's out. Oh, man. That's why you chose to do what you do, right? Because not everyone that's accused of a crime did it. No, not every. And then even the ones that did do it, they deserve someone to stand up for them and say, hey, listen, this is bad. This is a bad day of my life, not this entire kid in my life. And then I take a lot of pride and especially with drunk driving, a lot of officers see this as a Mickey Mouse offense. A lot of officers cut corners. And I've taken the personal belief, if you can't do a DUI case right, what a chance do they have with more serious crimes? I got child abuse detectives, I got sex offense detectives, I got murder friend detectives. And I, honest to God, believe that if we tear someone up on a Mickey, they say Mickey Mouse type crime, you tear someone up on that, they become better police officers. Yeah. And, people always say, Mark, I didn't do it, Mark.
You got the wrong. I didn't know what they can prove. That's not. I don't. You know what I mean? I don't want to know what happened. I don't need to know. I need to know what they can prove. Then once I know that, you and I can talk more about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And so I always assume everyone's a good person is having a bad day. And I kid you not, man. People call me all the time. You're the first person that was nice to me. The other lawyers are mean to me. I was like, they hurt me, buddy. Got to tell you why. So assume the best.
Yeah.
Assume the best at the same time. You know.
Right.
Always take it with a grain of salt.
Right. So we talked about your wife a little bit. You've got a family at home. What is the most difficult part about being a trial lawyer and a business owner and a family man?
When I was still mostly by myself, I had my first child's first birthday. It was in the middle of the week, and I missed it. I was doing a jury trial, and the hardest part about being a trial lawyer is someone's hiring you to perform something, and you can ask for continuances, but if the judge wants to do it, the client wants to do it, you have to take a back seat. And that was very hard. And that's when I kind of realized I don't want to do this for myself. I want to be able to have people help me out with things.
Yes.
And then, my wife was very supportive. She came from a family of steel workers. And so it was they're early and they're home. And once they're home, there was no phone calls. There was no weekend stuff. And so it was quite the curve for her, especially even until, a couple of years ago, me answering the after hours calls, me answering the weekend calls. And I set it up, only the new clients come to me and I call back, text back existing clients. Listen, if it's an emergency, I'll talk to anybody. But most of the time, hey, it wins court.
Yeah.
Call on Monday, man, and text him back. But her seeing me having to do that, I think she realized, man, this is crazy because that's not what she grew up with.
Right.
But she's also seen some pretty extraordinary things that we've been able to do for her and our kids because I have the business, because I've been able to market correctly. And most recently, she gave birth to our second child in California.
Yeah.
This just last year. And so we were stuck in California. And I flew out every weekend. I flew out on Thursday morning, was there till Sunday. And it wasn't fun paying for those type of things.
Yeah.
But even then she recognizes, hard work does pay off in some way. And there are a lot of people working hard that would not be able to do that. But hard work, good fortune, lots of things worked out. And so she's on board. She's a big supporter. And it's even funny because I'll be watching TV and my kid phone will ring and my voice is, hey, I'm Attorney Marc Lopez. And even my daughter will be like, we got to pause the TV. Let's go in the other room.
Right.
And so it's a family thing in some ways.
Yes.
But
yeah, it's funny. I was joking with someone the other day about how I used to run upstairs and go hide in the bathroom to have a conversation without a kid yelling at me. I've got 4 of them and they're all very young. But we have very similar stories. My wife, daughter of a steel worker, UAW steel worker, and UAW worked for the union. And I remember my son's 5th birthday. I had to try a jury trial, and I missed it. They went to the Children's Museum. They had the outdoor sports complex thing. Yeah, yeah. So I missed all that. We got a huge verdict, which was good for the client, right?
That makes the medicine go down a little better.
Right. Right. So what's next for Marc Lopez Law Firm? Where are you guys heading?
Man, I wake up every day and I try to figure out ways to make it better. And so I have an executive assistant, and he's a smart kid, and he's helping me just put everything pen to paper, operations, and things I take for granted, just put everything, just want standard operating procedures for everything.
Yep. And
I just want to continue to help these people in a bad day of their life. And so, I'm usually the first person at the office, maybe always the last day, one of the last to leave. And I love to be able to call up, keep track of everything. I kind of see the emergencies as they come. And I love it when we have just the emergencies are not hey, I can't talk to somebody, I missed a phone. We don't get those anymore. And I want to keep that train going. And, as I get farther and farther from the day-to-day operations, I get concerned about quality control. And luckily we have amazing attorneys. Yeah. But anyways, you get farther and farther from things, you don't get the interaction. So I'm always a little bit worried about that. But got great partners, got great people working for me. I don't know, man. Lawyers sometimes complain about their job. I love my job, man. This is the coolest thing in the world to help people. It's just amazing.
What's the quote? You put it on your website, on your bio. The high school counselor. Do you love what you do?
Never work a day of your life.
Never work a day of your life. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, man, every time I see you, that's the feeling I get. This guy must love what he does.
Just make me smile this whole time.
So if anyone wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that? Email?
Email is easiest, marc@marclopezlaw.com with the Marc with the C. You can text me 317-632-3642. That comes right to my cell phone. I won't lie, I'm a busy guy, but if you send me a text, an email, I will get back to you.
Yeah.
Probably text more so than email. I never realized, man, no one told you to become a lawyer. You're going to get thousands of emails.
Yeah.
The email situation is insane. But I'll tell you a little secret. I've never not had lunch. Every day I eat lunch. So if anyone is just dying to hang out with me and have questions, all you got to do is say the words lunch and come to the Northside office or downtown and we can hang out.
Absolutely. I'm up here at his office right now at the Northside office. Beautiful location. Overlook lovely Keystone Avenue over there. It's near my house. I actually kind of stayed in the same area on the northeast side of town since I moved up here. So, well, Mark, been a pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, Alex.
I got to have you back on. Okay.
Heck yeah, dude. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Circle City Conversations podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more future conversations.